got you. I can hear you there as well, yes. Yep. I got you.
This is the home of boxing.
This is boxing. Everybody gets it.
Every single prediction you guys have made have come to fruition.
Bro, they're fighting at world-class level. What are you saying right now?
There's boxing, then there's ProBox.
Yo, hold on. That's a stretch.
He's going to get tired. No one can squeeze like this for 12 rounds. And he sure did.
You are the epitome of a... That's what I was told.
It was 1 year ago that our vision here at ProBox TV became a reality. Our model and mission and continues to be to deliver a new source of premium content focused fully on what real fight fans deserve. Simply put, ProBox TV is your boxing channel. No longer were you, the faithful, going to be taken for granted. No longer would you be underserved by the quality and consistency of content. We are creating daily news and talk shows dedicated to the sport you love. And our mission started a year ago when we launched our live fight series. We came out swinging with a main event featuring the former two-time world champion and seven-time Canadian national champion Jean Pascal against then 17-0 Mong Fan Long, who represented his home nation of China in the 2012 Olympic Games in London, and at the time was the top-ranked IBF light heavyweight contender in the world. We also introduced our Last Chance Tournament. You know, the business of boxing is shown too often over the years to be the athlete's toughest fight. So we offered 8 competitors who, for one reason or another, had been derailed on their ride to potential superstardom, another chance. Our launch included the 4 quarterfinal bouts that all delivered, and as the tournament progressed, it produced some of the most action-packed fights of 2022. ProBox TV, we don't promote boxers, we promote boxing. Enter the new year and think back to the days of Friday Night Fights, a destination designed to dispose of the politics and deliver a consistent product that would produce a plethora of moments within the squared circle. And we brought back the concept of Friday Night Fights with our twice-a-month Wednesday night showcases. Good fighters in great fights, 50-50 matchups. If you're a runner, a holder, or a low-volume puncher, then Wednesday Night Fights on ProBox TV is not for you. ProBox TV, your boxing channel. We have and we will always be about you, our loyal fight fan. And we want you to get involved with our first anniversary show tonight. So go to ProBoxTV.com, and this is how you will vote.
All right, here we are on the ProBox TV official ballot page. This is where you can cast your vote for all these 7 categories we've got for you this evening, all the way from best performance by a prospect, worst fights, worst decisions, biggest upsets, best round, best contender fight, and of course everybody's favorite, the top 5 knockout. So here you are on the page. You can go down, you can look at any of these videos. We're going to click here, for example, on this video and watch best performance by a prospect. Marcus Valle, he's a heck of a fighter, man. He's got a big punch, and he's a guy I would not want to step in the ring with. But let's step back here. You can watch that all the way through, kind of find out why Marcus might be the best, or maybe it's Najee, Darrell, Dominic, perhaps any of these guys. But you're going to go through and watch those videos as much as you want. Choose your vote for each one. Heck, I'm going to cast for my vote for Marcus there. And what's the worst fight? Well, maybe it was this one. The worst decision, the biggest upset, the best round in boxing this year, the best contender fight, and the top 5 knockout here at ProBox TV. Once you've watched those videos and made your choice, you got your ballot over here. When you're ready, you can go ahead and submit your vote. Now, if you're a subscriber like I am, you can go ahead and log in, and your vote will count right away. If you're not, go ahead and subscribe. Fill out your email and create a password. It's real easy to do. That's all it takes. Right now, ProBox is 100% free. It's ad supported, but you can also get it for just $1.99 a month with no ads. So you can fill that in. I'm just going to go ahead and log in, and it does that, and I'm going to submit my vote right here. It'll tell me thanks for filling out the form, and that's it. I'm good to go. My vote has counted. So that's it. That's all you got to do to vote in tonight's anniversary celebration. We'll see you soon here at ProBox TV.
And in addition to voting, we want to introduce to you our ultimate fan experience. ProBox TV is giving you, the fan, the opportunity to enter and win right now at ProBoxTV.com. The winner will get an awesome getaway for 2 to Tampa, Florida, airfare and hotel included. Hang out with the stars here at ProBox TV and see what happens behind the scenes. Sit ringside and get all access passes to a live ProBox TV fight night. Then to top it off, we are giving you, the winner, $1,000 in cold, hard cash to spend however you want. All you have to do is go to ProBoxTV.com, submit your votes, and you will automatically be entered into the ultimate fan experience giveaway. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Goldberg. Yes, it is anniversary time. And when you talk about talent, when you talk about looks, when you talk about the true stars of our program, it is none other than my 2 partners sitting on each side of me. One of them is very magical. The other, the newcomer, has fitted just perfectly. Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi, the former 2-time world champion. Hard to believe it's been a year, even a few months since we got started and talked about what we were going to do in the last year.
Yeah, I remember when ProBox TV was just an idea. I remember when ProBox TV was just something that we were discussing, and it was in discussions with Gary Jonas, and the ideas were flowing and flying, and then before you know it, we were launching. And then after we were launching, we were having some fun. You know, I believe we've put on some terrific, exciting fights, some great shows. We've had some great podcasts and discussions and all kinds of good stuff. And I think that, you know, it's reason to look forward to more for the upcoming year.
So, Chris Algieri, you joined us at the first of the year. We were very excited to have you join the team. And the one thing that you said to me the first time we met officially on the air is, I like the concept. ProBox TV is going places. I'm excited about the direction in which we're taking.
Yeah, like you said, I've only been here for a few months, you know, this year, really. But a year ago, I was on my couch watching ProBox, enjoying the fights. And, you know, it's been a great experience as a fan, and now being on the other side and being able to call the fights and see the action from right in front of me at the ringside, being ringside has been fantastic.
Well, it's great to have both Long Island and Brooklyn represented, and Ohio, of course, the Buckeye here in the middle. We are going to break down a lot of fun things over the next couple of hours. Consider this the ProBox TV version of the ESPYs, and later we'll have a full show in Spanish, led, of course, by the 7-time world champion, the Hall of Famer, Juan Manuel Marquez. I'm, of course, joined by Paulie and Chris. Claudia Trejos and the crew are set to go. Our first category is a very important one, so I want you to pay attention right now. Our first category of the night are top ring girls. Amber Fields, Sophia Fowler, Dalen Menzer. Who are you going to vote for? Do you remember them? As they showed us, it was the 4th or 5th or 7th round, while Paulie and Chris were so immersed in the replays and the graphics, and never once did either of you look up. We know that to be the case. Paulie's laughing already. All right. So, okay, once in a while when Chris is doing a replay, maybe once in a while?
Yeah, you know, I mean, you get distracted. The crowd, the girls, the crowd, the fighters in the corner. I'm observing everything, so I'm observing the entire plateau, so to speak.
You know what? He's always political. I'm observing everything.
No, it's awareness. When you're a fighter, you're very much aware of the room that you're in. You're aware of the people around you. You're aware of your corners. You're aware of the ring card girls. It's just part of being a fighter.
And for me, it's important to know what round is coming up next, and not always depending on the truck and the graphics. So there is a reason that they are there. In fact, they are here, and they will be with us all night long. So we will look forward to seeing Amber, Sophia, and Dalen. They are our first category, our top ring card girls. So vote right now. Here at ProBox TV, as we switch gears, we take great pride in our prospects. Decorated amateurs on their way up. Some will be the true superstars of tomorrow. Some will stumble along the way. There will come a day, I promise you this, when a world champion will say, I got my start with ProBox. So our second category here on our anniversary show for you to vote on is Best Performance by a Prospect. And to start, we go back to June 24th, 2022, Najee Lopez against Jason Monroy.
Najee Chino Lopez!
Strawberry red trunks for Najee Lopez. Black striped trunks for Jason Monroy. Monroy's pro debut, his only pro fight 10 months ago. Scheduled for 8 rounds, he was victorious, stopping his opponent in round 5.
And countering.
Beautiful right there, just like that.
And he
Beautiful
threw sharp counters. He drew that shot out of Monroy and then countered him with the right hand. You know, he's being forced to think in there, but he's comfortable thinking. Nice hook.
Oh, there you go. Straight right hand. There you go.
Down goes Monroy.
And the beautiful part about that, he didn't load up. It came right off the movement.
Monroy waves him in, and again, that's the durability.
Yeah.
A guy with a big amateur career. Nice counter right hand.
Another big shot. Lopez looking to finish it right here.
Monroy punched the ground. You see how durable this guy is.
Yes,
and you see, he saw Monroy almost hesitating on the jab. Watch, Monroy kind of hesitates on the jab. Oh no, this might be the second knockdown.
This is the second knockdown, yes. A man might have a nice cut up on his eye. Looks like
that looks like the inside of his eye, man.
It does.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, he complaining.
Yeah. Is he cut on the inside? I've never seen.
It might be.
I don't know, man. That's ready. That cut is inside his eye. He felt something.
Yeah, that's over.
At 1 minute 45 seconds of the third round, due to an eye injury, your winner by technical knockout and still undefeated, Najee Chino Lopez.
First of our 4 nominees for Best Performance by a Prospect. Paulie, let's test Chris right now. Were you on the couch that night watching ProBox TV, watching Najee Lopez?
I actually wasn't live for that one, but I have seen it several times since.
All right, what impresses you about Najee Lopez's skill set?
So that fight, even though his opponent only had one fight, he had a big, deep amateur background. So, and he was a very live dog. So it wasn't one of those fights where it's an older guy stepping up and we got the prospect to see how he's going to fare. It was a live fight against a live guy, and I thought Najee performed perfectly. I mean, he was out there, he was really, really sharp. The right hands are right on point. He had his man hurt. He followed up. I mean, he was very complete that night for someone with so few fights against someone who was really trying to win.
You know, for Najee Lopez, unfortunately, he suffered a broken jaw within the last year. He is on his way down in weight classes, but the truth of the matter is, Magic Man, he's dangerous every time he steps in the ring.
Yeah, very versatile prospect, changes speeds on you, changes the look on you, you know, fights off of a cerebral mindset. You can see the amateur career Najee himself has built him into the pro prospect that he is. I personally love his style. You know, I like those fast athletic styles. And as he's going down in weight, you kind of see more of the athleticism popping up. So he's a guy definitely that I look forward to continue to watch in his development.
He's got that rare mix of both the skill, the aggression. He is the entire package, and he may go very far in his professional boxing career. So that is nominee number 1. Nominee number 2, October 7th of last year, the Haitian Olympian, Daryl Blast Valsaint against Paul Mendez.
Mendez and Valsaint. Here we go. It's time to fight. And right away, what I want to tell you is, here's the thing about putting a guy in too early. If you put him in with a superior puncher, then it makes it dangerous, because if he makes one mistake, it could cost him. And your goal is to teach him not to make mistakes.
I've seen this guy fight. It's a southpaw or right-hander for years. So maybe Valsaint knows something we didn't know about him either.
Valsaint is very smart in doing this because it throws the older fighter off. The older fighter had no clue that Valsaint could come out and fight complete the right hand, and Valsaint is killing him with that jab right now.
And a dominant first round. Mendez looks like he's wondering who this guy in front of him is, because that's not the guy he thought he was going to see.
You got that right. Well, he came out and tried to land a powerful overhand right just now, which Mark also had prepared Blast for already, so he's knowing that he has to land some power to get some respect, because right now he has no respect from Blast. But the boxing skills are just not on Blast level. The nickname is like Gallo Negro. Black Rooster. There he goes. He's in really bad shape. That was a beautiful uppercut. There he is. It's not Magic Man, Superman. That was a left uppercut right there. A beautiful left uppercut that got him down.
See where he put his hand?
Yes, he put his hand behind his head and laid that head.
Tricks.
Yeah, you better believe it. But when you fight a veteran, you got to pull all those kind of tricks out. Pull that head down, hold that head.
Head down.
Daryl Blast Valsaint.
You heard the voice of Superman, the Hall of Famer, Roy Jones Jr., who will join us later tonight on our anniversary show. What Roy was talking about at the top of that fight, Paulie, is the fact that Paul Mendez was a former IBA world champion, came into that fight against Blast with a record of 23-3-2.
Yeah, I had actually seen Mendez. I had worked some fights of Mendez in the past, and I knew he not only was durable, but he was very, very capable. And I actually myself was wondering if maybe this was too much too soon for a prospect, even of the level of Valsaint. But, you know, Valsaint came in and handled it in a very poised manner, was smooth the whole way, didn't look tight. You know, a lot of times when you're a prospect, you step up in competition, you're a little tight because, you know, you're not so much scared to lose, but you're worried about how you're going to look. You want to impress people. But Valsaint really didn't show any of those symptoms. You know, he came in, was very, very smooth. What I love about Valsaint is he can fight out of both stances, lefty and righty. Mendez didn't last long. I remember seeing Mendez the morning after the fight, and he was kind of looking at me like, you know, hey, Paul, you know, you get a little older. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know, I've been there as well, you know, where, you at one time in your career, you feel that youth explosiveness, and then all of a sudden you're on the other side of it where the youth explosiveness is coming after you. And I could relate to him in that way, but ultimately, a very, very impressive performance by Valsaint.
You know, in this day and age, Chris, we see a lot of fighters who, not only in the ring, but on their bios and fighter interviews say, I'm a switch stance. I can go either way. And 90% of them struggle from one side or the other. But the natural flow that Blast has, I think you would agree, is very seamless, and that is one of the most dangerous things about it.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it's actually very rare. You know, I think of Marvin Hagler. I think about Floyd when he was hurt. Only when he hurt his hand, he would switch sides. He's a guy who switched sides quite a bit. But now we have Terrence Crawford, who's one of the best switch hitters we've ever seen. So now with Val Saint, this is my guy. I love me some Blast, man. This performance was fantastic. He fought a very tough, durable guy in front of him, a guy who was very dangerous, very tricky. And Blast was able to, I mean, the precision. Talk about versatility in terms of not even just being able to switch sides seamlessly, but being able to mix and seamlessly switch between offense and defense. That kind of versatility with offense and defense at that level with so few pro fights, I mean, that speaks worlds to where he can go potentially.
So you would say his precision is precise?
His precision is quite precise.
Yes, indeed.
And his defense is impregnable.
There you go. You know, the more I say that, the more it makes sense. It didn't sound great at the time I said it years ago, guys, but it's got a ring to it, doesn't it?
He's making you look better and better.
Better and better every time. Every time you guys agree with me. How about that? All right. This is our third nominee for Best Prospect Performance of the Year. Team USA member Marcus Valle. His fight against Benjamin Whitaker, September 9th, 2022.
Marcus Valle.
It's time to fight. Black and what he calls giraffe trunks for Whitaker, pink and white for 5-0 Marcus Valle.
And Whitaker was hurt with a body shot already, a left body shot to the liver. Hurt him badly already.
So in the open, you talked about some things that you shared with Marcus Valle. What should we look for tonight in his improving and evolving career?
Just like that, speeding up the punches sometimes, not throwing them all the same speed.
Shared with Marcus Valle, what should we look for tonight in his improving and evolving career?
We noticed, and we told him about it because it's important that you not let guys know when the big shot is coming. So if you learn how to change the speed of your punches, you can be much more effective in the ring.
And one thing about Valle that I like, you know, he starts fast.
He said, this fight, I'm much better. I'm back to normal.
This gives Whitaker a free break and makes the ref wipe off his gloves. And, well, Valle actually just caught a warning for it.
Ooh, body shot. I told you. I told you.
Body shot from Marcus Valle facing.
Those shots last a little longer, don't they, Paulie?
Last all 10 seconds tonight.
In 2 minutes and 57 seconds of the first round, by way of knockout, Marcus Valle.
Marcus Valle, another. That is big brother Marcus Valle. Impressive so far in his career. In fact, his first 4 fights, 4 first-round finishes in a total time of 5 minutes and 46 seconds. Chris, many have said he is developing a lot like a young Edgar Berlanga. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a fast starter. He's a seek and destroy type guy, you know, very similar to Edgar. You know, Edgar may be a little bit more explosive, but Marcus Valle, he makes up for that with diligence. He's very dogged in his approach. He likes to put a lot of pressure on guys, back them up against the ropes, and unload with both hands, letting loose with power upstairs and downstairs, which I really like when a guy can vary his attack high and low.
Mentally, both Valle brothers are very strong as well, and Marcus has said to us, plain out, I don't get tired, I hit hard, I continue to come at full force.
Yeah, Marcus gives me a little bit of shades of like an Antonio Margarito, you know, where he comes with a bit better, actually, with a bit better fundamentals. You know, he does get hit, needs a little bit of work on the defense, but he's also going to be the kind of guy who's not going to be a Pernell Whitaker style either. He's going to be coming forward, breaking you down, and his offense is fundamentally very, very sound. He's well balanced, gets good leverage on his shots, and he breaks you mentally as well as physically, which is what I like. I don't mind the high contact style of Valle. I think that's going to be the ticket to his success in some ways, and I think he's going to be fun to watch for that reason. For one piece of perspective, I want to tell you this. You've got to remember that Blast is 20 years old. Both Valle brothers are in their early 20s. So last time Marcus Valle had a victory, that was recently here on ProBox TV. I'm headed home. He is coming out of, no lie, he's coming out of Wawa with a milkshake and 2 cheeseburgers. And I looked at him and we smiled and I said, you know what?
you earned it. But that's how young these prospects are. Marcus Valle celebrated a victory with a milkshake. Good for him. All right, Marcus is the oldest of the Valle brothers. In fact, he is 1 year, 9 months, and 13 days older than his brother Dominic. And he is the 4th nominee for the best performance by a prospect here on our first anniversary show. Let's go back to February 25th of 2022.
Here we go.
It is time to fight. 21-year-old Dominic Valle. Very tall for this weight class.
It's another one of these opponents where the prospect tonight is going to have to work for it. And you see Valle getting off a bunch of punches, a bunch of combinations, but Torres is not going anywhere.
There we go.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you got the guy in front of you with his hands up. It's going to be hard to penetrate him. So, you know, you're using that lead hand and breaking them apart, setting those traps. You can even do what I used to like to see Frank Lavargas do when they have the gloves about quick and make them feel uncomfortable, you know? Where they realize it's not always sweet in here, you know what I mean? Sometimes, you know, you're back to that pocket. You got a lot of body shot.
Valle with a great combination. Finish with the body shot.
He set that up beautifully, snuck that in.
But the onslaught continues from 21-year-old Dominic Valle.
I think Valle,
Hand is all over Dominic Valle.
I think he learned that he didn't have to really throw all those shots. He got behind that jab and it came together.
1 minute, 56 seconds of the third round. Your winner by technical knockout and still undefeated, Dominic Valle.
So those are the 4 nominees for the best performance by a prospect here on our first anniversary show. Coach Mark Ferre has talked about both of the Valle brothers, and credit mom and dad. Credit the mom and dad, Junior and Spring Valle, especially Junior, because he's really taking care of the conditioning of his 2 young men, and he's always told his sons, hey, you can't fake it. You got to go in there fully prepared. So credit to the boys for listening, but he said they're easy to work with, and you can never be a good teacher without a good student.
Yeah, and you can never teach enthusiasm and passion, and that's what these guys have. You know, to be a terrific prospect, you need a lot of talent, you need a great work ethic, but the great work ethic will not come unless you are enthusiastic and passionate about it. If you're blowing out air out of your mouth every day, like, oh, I got to go to the gym today. It's not really going to it's not going to translate in the gym as far as your improvements. You're not going to be willing to go home and watch video of yourself and work on the little subtleties that really change you as a fighter. And again, I mean, the passion exudes out of these guys. You can tell that they love working out, they love improving, and they love to see what the future may hold for them.
It was always an event when Miguel Cotto would fight in the Valle household. Blas used to wrap his hands in toilet paper when he wanted to be a fighter, but it's been said by both Marcus and Dominic, they want to be the best brothers in boxing. There is some competition out there, but they're on their way.
Yeah, there's some twins out there with we can speak of. They have a long way to go in order to be the best brothers. But I love, like Paulie was talking about, the enthusiasm of them, the youthful exuberance of these 2 young men. Young prospects always ask me, hey, I'm late to boxing. I want to be as good as I possibly can. What can I do? I always say get in the best shape you possibly can be, because then the improvements that you can make in training camp and then carry them over the fight are that much more. And these guys live that. They're both in shape. I've seen them both training here. Dominic, man, talk about conditioning. You mentioned conditioning at the top there. That fight specifically, I mean, he just was nonstop with both hands. I really enjoyed that fight. He's tall for the weight class. He kept the guy on the outside. As soon as he stepped over that critical distance line, he was letting those hands go the entire time until the guy was no longer there. I'd like to see that in a young prospect.
All right, so there you go, the story of the Valle brothers, and we will get both Chris and Paulie's vote in a moment, but we do want to remind you that you can subscribe to ProBox TV here on YouTube and vote for your 1-year anniversary nominees on your boxing channel, our webpage, ProBoxTV.com. And don't forget about the ultimate fan experience. Entered to win right now. The winner gets an awesome getaway for 2 to Tampa, Florida, airfare and hotel. You'll hang with the stars here at ProBox TV. Sit ringside, get all access passes, $1,000 in good old hard cash. All you have to do is go to ProBoxTV.com, submit your votes, and you'll automatically be entered into the ultimate fan experience giveaway. All right, so we had Najee Lopez and Jason Monroy. Blast, Darrell Valsaint, Paul Mendez, the former world champion, Marcus Valle, Benjamin Whitaker, and of course, Dominic Valle and Nelson Colon. Paulie, your vote goes to?
You're going to put me on the spot.
I am going to put you on the spot. Every category I'm putting you on the spot.
All right. I'm going to go with Najee. I'm going to go with Najee. I like that, he had the guy with a ton of amateur experience. I realize how much that can really be a foundation for a fighter when a guy has a lot of amateur experience. Now, granted, Monroy was a little older, a little long in the tooth, but this guy had fought in the Olympic Games. He had a ton of amateur experience internationally, not just locally and nationally. So he was a guy who had seen all kinds of styles, and Najee did away with him like this. So very, very impressive.
All right, so obviously you're being put on the spot now, Chris. We threw it to Magic Man first. It is your turn to pick.
This is a tough one because I'm a big fan of Najee as well. But, man, I got to go with my guy. Blast. Valsaint, Darrell Valsaint, man. I thought in terms of this performance particularly against Mendez, who we've seen in the past be very, very durable, and, having that much experience, still having a good record. The guy's not shot. And the way that Blast was able to completely dismantle him. And from the orthodox position, we normally see him southpaw. So he not only dismantled a very high caliber opponent, but he did it in a stance that we're not even used to seeing. So we're seeing him progress as a pro. And I think in terms of that particular performance, he's got my number one. He's got my vote.
All right, so there are our 2 experts vote, some of our founders, of course, the Hall of Famer, the Magic Man. And we are here right now to see if either of you guys could use a water, if you guys could use a water, or if you guys might need a water. Amber, Sophia, Dalen, thank you for all being here tonight. We have been waiting patiently. Paulie's been like a little kid since 2 o'clock. He's been talking about this.
Couldn't even pay attention to the soccer game earlier today. I was thinking about these award shows.
That's actually a compliment to all 3 of you, is that he couldn't pay attention. And Chris, you did mention that you may have noticed our ring girls once or twice during your career, and especially here at ProBox.
I've noticed them while in my own career, while in the ring. So it's even harder here because ProBox does have the best ring car girls in the world and any production today. So
you know what's weird is I almost feel like one of them is standing by me. Oh, hi. Yeah. Nice to see you. Pleasure to see you.
Felt that energy, right?
Yeah, I felt the energy.
That's that energy you bring into the ring.
Paulie. Yeah, I mean, I felt like Paulie was really magnetic right there, and now I realize why. He is a good-looking man, though. Let's just be honest about things. All right, so we're going to wait to see all 3 of you win awards from us. We're going to wait and see later who gets the vote from the fans. So thank you for being here, and don't go anywhere because you guys are working all night. No cards tonight, but you guys are working all night. All right, let's move to our next category. We have been through one already. We've talked about the ultimate fan experience. Next up, the 3 worst fights. Yes, we can have some fun here at ProBox TV. 3 worst fights in our first anniversary. We start April 15th of this year. Carlos Sanchez against the southpaw Alexander Duran. Carlos Sanchez came in 23-1 with 19 knockouts against 21-0 southpaw Alexander Duran. This fight ended up being stopped in the 6th round due to a cut caused by an accidental headbutt. Carlos Sanchez was confident he had remained unbeaten. I was confident that he had remained unbeaten. But as time would go on, I was reminded by my partners that, Goldie, you never know what the judges might see, what the judges might say. what the judges might do. And in the end, the scorecards, while shocking, went the other way, much to the disbelief. So Carlos Sanchez and Alexander Duran, and I remember, Paulie, you may have had a comment about that afterwards.
I've been watching boxing all my life, but let's say in the time I've been in boxing, right? It's over 25 years. I've seen a lot of decisions in my life. Some stick out more than others. That is probably, no, that's most definitely the second worst decision I've ever seen in my life. In my life. I mean, that's pretty high up there, man. I mean, there's only one decision that is worse than that one, and that was Joel Casamaro getting a decision against Jose Armando Santa Cruz. I remember thinking Santa Cruz won 11 out of 12 rounds, and somehow they gave it to Casamaro, an aging Casamaro. Jose Armando was Leo Santa Cruz's older brother. But this fight may not have had as much importance. I couldn't believe they gave Sanchez a round, let alone the fight. I mean, he didn't win a second of the fight. And one judge had it 6 rounds to 0. I mean, shocking. Like the kind of thing that makes you want to take the judges and throw them all a beating in a room, you know? But it's the thing that happens in boxing.
I would say one thing, to be safe, I would say judges, stay out of Paulie Malignaggi's room. Just saying. You may be nearly perfect, but there's nobody perfect. So just be careful. And you've seen some in your day as well, Chris. There was a fighter that I grew up idolizing. I mean, he was a showman. Had a red mohawk a lot, Italian dude from Brooklyn. And he would be very vocal about some decisions that didn't go his way. I'm trying to remember his name.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Maggiano? No, Malignaggi. That's who it is.
That's the one.
You've seen it. You guys as boxers, you guys hate it. There's no question. And it hurts the sport in general.
I'm the forever optimist, and I'm always like, well, listen, this meritocracy is real, especially in boxing. If you beat the man, you get the fight with the man. It works out sometimes, but usually it doesn't. This is by far the worst worst decision I've ever called. Not the worst I've ever seen, because I agree with Paulie. I've seen some worse decisions, but the worst I've ever called. We were shocked ringside when we heard the scorecards. We were like, wow, you gave Sanchez 2 rounds. Meanwhile, all 3 judges gave him the fight. It was mind-blowing. But aside from the scoring, the fight wasn't good either.
Right.
It was sloppy. Not much got done. Duran, who actually boxed a pretty smart game plan, fought at a distance, kind of slowed it down, kind of made it a stinker of a fight.
Right.
And Sanchez did literally nothing and looked like he was way out of his depth and was not a very talented fighter. So aside from the decision being so bad, it was a bad fight.
It was a bad fight, which is why it is a nominee for our 3 worst fights here in our first anniversary show. Also, April 5th of this year from Mexico City. It was obviously a magical night. Abraham Areola and Brandon King Reyes fighting at home. Little civil war on ProBox TV.
Wrong fight.
All right, so there we go. See, it was so bad that we actually showed the really bad one again for just a moment. Reyes and Areola, again, an accidental headbutt would occur. This time, though, both men in the orthodox stance. We see it all too often when you've got the southpaw against the orthodox. This time, the math was much more simple as they continued to battle. Abraham Areola was way ahead on the scorecards. And so really what happened with the accidental headbutt that brought a short ending to a very dominant performance is we probably did not get to see a TKO or a knockout from Abraham as he switches to the southpaw stance there. Thus, probably why we saw the headbutt. This time, though, the judges could not get it wrong. He was so far in front in this fight that it was Abraham Areola who captured the technical decision. But Chris and Paulie, you know, the amazing thing is that you guys always talk about it, talk about the battle of the outside foot. orthodox, southpaw, watch out for the accidental headbutt. Will that ever change? I mean, you can't put helmets on like in hockey, but Chris, will that ever change? And I guess your answer is probably going to be unfortunately not.
No, it's mechanics. It's the way it's X's and O's when it comes to boxing. And when you have those front foot in there, your heads are on line to meet. And especially when guys are being aggressive, and especially at the lower levels when they're not as good at keeping that head over that, they're keeping their head too far over that front foot, you get those head clashes, especially with these guys who are young and looking make a name for themselves. This fight was almost going to be, could potentially turn into a good fight. Headbutts ended it, but really, like, it was expected to be a certain way, and it was kind of a one-sided fight that ended in a way that you're just like, left you longing for more.
Yeah, but at least it was one that was visible to whatever type of glasses the judges had on that night.
Oh, yeah. Well, both of those guys are local guys, so I think, the decision was going to be more fair. In the case of Duran, he was coming from Panama to Mexico. They treated him like an absolute dirtbag, the poor guy, So he never had a chance with that kind of those kind of politics. But in this fight, both guys are local guys. Both guys had their following over there, and the judges really had no reason to go in any particular direction politically, and they went with the guy who was pushing the fight. It ended early, ended because of a headbutt, lefty versus righty. That can happen, as you were mentioning.
Yep. All right. So three worst fights of the year. Here is the third, I guess, candidate, nominee, or unfortunate nominee. The road was rugged.
Infamous.
And infamous, yeah. And the fights were massively memorable in our last chance tournament. Unfortunately, the finals were a little bit different. November 4th, 2022, Antonio Moran, the early favorite to win the tournament, against Kendo Tremendo Castaneda, who had the highlight reel knockout against Sonny Fredrickson in the first round, had an incredible fight against Joseph Fernandez to get to the finals against Moran. But Paulie, in this one, Moran just kind of did his thing. It was methodical, and Kendo could never get it going.
Yeah, Moran has a fight on his record against Devin Haney, the current undisputed lightweight champion. So, he'd been in with the high opposition as well, and he showed his pedigree in this fight. Castaneda wasn't for lack of trying, but he just didn't have a very good game plan, couldn't really close the gap in the way he wanted to. And when he did close the gap, he didn't really get a lot of work done. Moran did really good work, varied his attack up and downstairs, got some knockdowns, as you can see, and really dominant, and sort of left us longing for more because the tournament itself had been so competitive each and every time, and so we expected a little bit more competitiveness in the final. We didn't get it, but it wasn't for lack of trying from Castaneda. Sometimes it's a lack of skill, not will. Castaneda had the will, he just didn't have the skill to keep up with Moran.
And we saw a lot of that with Kendo Tremendo, and Chris, I know that was one you were watching, but one before you came on and joined our family officially. Kendo was entertaining. He was a lot of fun. He said he had never worked harder. Some people hate the expression styles make fights, but that night I think we saw a style that Antonio Moran had and a skill set that Kendo just couldn't work against.
Yeah, I watched the whole tournament. It was a fantastic tournament. Every fight leading up to this fight was good, except for the main event. And I think this is one of those situations where expectations met reality, and they didn't line up the way everyone expected. So I think that's more of the issue for this fight. It wasn't a terrible fight. It was just expected to be good, and it was very one-sided because Moran was just a better fighter. He's got a better style, he had a better physique, he had a better game plan, and I think Kendo Castaneda, who had a great tournament, we kind of saw where he really lies when he was in the main event with the guy who was just below world class.
All right, so those are nominees for the worst fight. Fans, get involved, vote. We showed you earlier how to do so. Carlos Sanchez, Alexander Duran, Brandon Reyes, Abraham Areola, and Antonio Moran, Kendo Castaneda. Don't forget to subscribe to ProBox TV here on YouTube. Vote for our 1-year anniversary nominees on your boxing channel on our webpage, ProBox TV. Now, we already had what was probably the worst decision, Paulie said second ever. It may appear again. But let's talk about worst decisions in the past year on ProBox TV. Let's go to December 2nd of last year, a title eliminator between Brandon Glanton and David the Great White Light. Number 7, Brandon Glanton. Number 6, David Light.
50-50 fights.
Event of the evening, 50-50. Here we go. It's time to fight. Bulletproof in the gray and white trunks. White and navy for New Zealand's David Light.
Starts taking charge in his back. Nice uppercuts again by Light. Oh, nice combination by Glanton. That's what I mean about you put your punches together.
Defensive tackle, nose guard.
Nice
And
combination by
football just got a body shot that rocked him a little bit. Saw the reaction.
Good combination by Light.
Nice uppercut. Glanton again landing. Oh, big shots by Brandon Glanton. Brandon Glanton trying to take it out of the hands of the judges.
This is the
big
best.
right hand.
This is the best.
Down.
This is the best sustained action of the round, of the fight. The best sustained action of the fight for Glanton. And he's been first the entire round.
Yep.
Even when there's a little bit of a break, Light has not tried to be first.
And he's been big here in the 10th as they go the distance. Brandon Glanton, David Light. Bulletproof with the knockdown in the 10th may very well have sealed the deal.
And the new WBO International Junior Heavyweight and Global Junior Heavyweight Champion, out of the blue corner, David the Great White Light.
One thing we know for certain, Isaac Peach, the trainer of David Light, he did have his flip-flops on, the proud Kiwi. Brandon Glanton didn't even react when David Light's name was called, I think because he was in such a level of disbelief, Paul.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was a good fight. I just thought Glanton showed a little more in the fight. He was more physical, bringing the fight to Light. Light fought well. It's just, you know, all the stereotypes about you got to close the show, and you got to bring fight, and you got to want it more, and all stuff. You know, the fight was awkward in a lot of ways, where it was, you know, a lot of physical play in there, where guys weren't getting the leverage on their shots, but they came out leverage and even close the show with a knockdown. You know, so I thought it was a clear win for Glanton, and it was all the win when the guy who came all the way from New Zealand got.
And it was interesting because during the pre-fight, Brandon Glanton was almost upset because he could not get David Light to react to it. He was like, okay, well, wait, when's he gonna say something? When's he gonna bad guy? And the Kiwis are mellow, as we know. They're very laid back. Go to the All Blacks and the great classic rugby teams of the year. And we know one thing that David Light has that a lot of Kiwis, and that is a high level of toughness. Light the fight that Brandon Glanton wanted him to fight and somehow got his.
Yeah, you know, this is one of those fights where it's what do you like? Is it the volume, or is it your punches and spots, the more eye-catching shots? Me personally, I thought won this fight, especially because it was very close. Well, David White fought very well. My nickname for him is the Kiwi Colossus, because he just comes forward, he meets you in the center. They're gonna bang around each other. So that's kind of how the fight went. But what really separated me from the fight is that what you always remember at the end, and he scored a knockdown. And the punches seemed like they had effect. But, you know, in hindsight, we got to see that David Light's actually he fought really well against Okoli in his next fight. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I mean, it was a close fight, but I still thought it was the wrong guy.
You know, Lawrence Okoli, much to what Chris just said, Paulie, went to David Light. He fought for the world title against Lawrence Okoli, went the distance against Lawrence Okoli. And so you can't take David Light, because the one thing he is durable, and the one thing he is a gamer. As we say modern day, he's a dog.
Yeah, and he sure was. He, again, looks just like the cool as a cucumber guy, but really, you know, in the fire, and he's gonna ignite himself, you know, and you know, he's not intimidated by anything. And of course, you mentioned that he went and fought Okoli and went the distance with Okoli in a world title challenge. Again, character on both guys, the kind of guys that you'd want to see, and ultimately, I hope to see them both again.
Absolutely, and congratulations, Willem Smith, who just defeated Lawrence Okoli on Boxer on. He is the new champion. So Okoli back to the drawing board, still with plenty left. And trust me, Bulletproof is ready to one more time. All right, nominee number 2, the rabbit, a chicken. Here we go. It's time to fight. Christopher Pollo Lopez in the gray trunks, the white trunks being sported by the rabbit. El Conejo Alejandro Gonzalez, the 22-year-old.
Yes. The rabbit feels like he's hurting that time.
Yep. What he'll get when he's on the counter.
Now the rabbit is rabbit.
The rabbit showing some speed.
Yeah, he's aggressive now.
But he should have cut off the ring. He allowed Lopez to go make his way all the way around the ring there instead of cutting off the ring. Sure, that's when he's your best chances to land them.
Should have been doing that all night long.
Yep.
Nice shot selection there by Lopez. Same hand around the side and then with the uppercut. And then by Gonzalez, excuse me. Nice combination there by Lopez. Again, at their
Neutral turf, neutral grounds in Cancun. Counter by Lopez late.
Lopez tried to change it up on the rabbit.
Going to go the distance. The main event goes the full 10, and these two men put on a show.
Christopher Pollo Lopez.
Lopez earns the unanimous decision victory and remains unbeaten.
And that's the risk you have when you...
Chris Pauly started to say it. That's the risk you take. So let's just not even focus on this fight for a moment. They always say it in any combat sport. That's the risk you take if you can't or you don't finish your opponent.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those fights where, I mean, it was entertaining. We saw that from the replays. It was back and forth. We saw Alejandro Gonzalez later on our air after this fight, and he's an excellent fighter, and he fought really well that night. It's a shame that he was on the wrong end of that decision, but I think there's a high ceiling for him, even though he caught a bad break there. But well, ProBox TV, we'll take you if you can fight.
Yeah,
you lose those bad decisions, you can still come here and fight and earn them.
Well, what do you get when you put a rabbit and a chicken in the ring in Cancun?
Well,
you get a bad decision. you get a bad decision, right?
You get a pretty good fight, but you get a bad decision.
Yeah.
You know, and you get a little bit of everything in between, a little spice to your sauce. You know, as the champ Chris said, you know, we ended up seeing Alejandro Gonzalez later on in another show, and he performed very well again, and this time got the decision. He's a guy who I think has a high ceiling, but he gets matched very tough, so you start to wonder how far he can go because you get matched so tough. Nobody's really taking care of him in that way. He's getting all the tough fights in guys' hometowns, tough fights B-sides on the fighter who has the promoter's side, which we saw here in this decision. This decision was what didn't go his way because the A side was with the promoter.
Right. All right. I already know what these two gentlemen are going to vote as the worst decision of the year. Like Paulie said, maybe one of the two worst he's ever seen in his lifetime. So we might as well revisit the fight. Carlos Sanchez and Alexander Duran.
Scheduled for 10 rounds in the welterweight division. 23-1 Carlos Sanchez against 21-0 Alexander Duran. Here we go. It's time to fight. Duran, the southpaw, in the black and gold trunks, blue and white trunks for Carlos Sanchez, who in the fighter meetings did say he's coming off a fight against the southpaw, so he gets a little more of that look here.
Duran got lower. There's the body shot.
There it is.
Yeah.
Good call, Chris. Right on cue.
Yeah, he's going on attack mode now. I had seen this in prior fights. Once he gets comfortable boxing and feels like he can be aggressive and offensive, he'll do it.
The all 1-2 body shot headbutt.
We've seen a lot of that tonight with body shot headbutt combinations or combinations with the headbutt at the end or in.
So would that be like a 1-7 or a 1-8?
7, that's a good thing.
If it was Letway, it'd be 1-9.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe got a cut from a headbutt. We'll see.
We had one fight stop, unfortunately, because of that.
The referee, the way he's looking at these guys, he might tell the doctor, listen, doc, do everybody a favor and stop it, all right?
Winner by the way of technical decision. Su vencedor por la vía de la decisión técnica. Team Zona Norte, Tijuana, Baja California. Carlos Tiburón Sánchez.
Wow. Wow is absolutely correct. You guys did say some crazy things have happened in this sport before.
Does that look like, he doesn't even look like he knows he won. He thinks he won. That's, wow. That's a shame.
Wow. All right, so Brandon Glanton, David Light, Alejandro Gonzalez, Christopher Lopez, Carlos Sanchez, Alexander Duran. Chris, I just say, wow.
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 I forgot that I said that on air. I was that blown away watching the fight and watching
You
back.
said it more than once.
Yeah, I did. I'm saying it again. Now that I'm watching the clip, remembering how it was. I mean, and listen, not only did this fight get worse decision on my ballot here, it also got worse fight. Because I thought, like I said at the top, you know, when we were talking about worst fights, I mean, not only was it a bad decision, it was a bad fight. It was boring. It didn't end well. The wrong guy got it. I mean, yeah, I'm done with this fight.
All right, it's done. Whose law is it? Anything that can go wrong does?
Yeah.
Whose law is that?
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law.
Murphy,
Well, Murphy's Law applied here.
Murphy would have had a better chance to win that fight if he would have been there. But you don't know with the judges. We do know that I think you're going to be consistent with the vote of, wow, Chris Algieri, our partner, the former world champion.
Now that the emotion is out, and like we can look at it from a calm perspective, I didn't need to see any more of that highlight than I had already seen. Watching that thing once was more than enough. The fight was bad, as Chris said. The decision was horrible. Now that I'm watching it calmly, I'm actually amazed how Sanchez is actually arguing with Duran about how he thinks he won the fight. It takes a special kind of individual to get your butt beat from one side to not one side of it, because it wasn't a beating. Let's face it, he was just outclassed.
But he did nothing.
He did absolutely
He got
nothing.
done.
To do absolutely nothing, to not win a second of the fight, and then argue with your opponent like you didn't rob him.
I would call
That is a special individual.
That's what we call delusional entitlement.
Yes, special creature.
Yeah, it wasn't a beating. It was just a beatdown. Yeah. So we have moved past that. We're going to move to a much more joyous category, and that is nominees for the biggest upset of the year here on ProBox TV, February 25th of 2022. This was one of my favorite fights we've done so far here on ProBox TV. Jonathan Ennis and Mark Reyes Jr. Of course, Mark Reyes Jr. came in with the big reputation, and I said it to our leader, Gary Jonas, the other day. We got to have the one with the southpaw with the mohawk, the blonde mohawk, and that is that guy from Argentina. Now, it was a late opponent change to a southpaw. Ennis knocked down Reyes early, Paulie, and it seemed to change the entire complexion of the fight.
Ennis showed up in shape, and he showed up ready to fight. And I think Reyes may have looked at him like, this is a last-minute opponent. I can just kind of breeze through. Reyes is a talented prospect who had shown the goods through his career, but I think he kind of took this guy lightly, figuring like, it's a last-minute opponent. I think it always can be tricky when there's a change of stance in the last-minute opponent as well. And Ennis was a southpaw. The original opponent had been a right-hander. I think Reyes should have took it a bit more seriously, at least from a psychological perspective. Obviously, he trained for the fight. From a physical perspective, he was ready. But from a psychological perspective, I don't think he was ready for the resistance Ennis gave him. And once he got that resistance, I don't think he was ever able to mentally get himself into the fight.
I think the greatest line that came out of that one, and it's been in our open here on ProBox TV pretty much since day one, is when Superman Roy Jones Jr. goes, he's a better fighter than he even knows he is. Well, he was talking about Jonathan Ennis.
Yeah, no, that was, I remember watching that fight live, actually, because I know Mark Reyes' father quite well, and I've met Mark a bunch of times, one of the local guys from out here. But yeah, like you said, champion, he was coming off a loss. This is supposed to be like a get-back fight, so I think he kind of overlooked Ennis a little bit. Like he said, he came in shape. He's a very busy journeyman, is Ennis, and his record's not great, but he's tough, and he always shows up. And he showed up that night. And I think that knockdown really got Reyes out of his game plan, and he just couldn't recover after that. And really, I mean, the right guy got the decision in that one.
Yes, and it was one of the biggest upsets, and you will have a chance to vote on all of the categories, so get involved right now, fans. We love our fans. This is your boxing channel. It is all about you. So we go to nominee number 2. This was this year. It was January 25th of this year, and Cesar the Rain Man Francis was coming in with a ton of momentum. He was set to take on Jesus Sriracho. Francis 12-0, coming off a highlight reel knockout of Francisco Armenta with a nasty uppercut. Taking on the 21-year-old, 12-1, Jesus Sriracho. Pre-fight, and I quote, Cesar had problems with the only other southpaw he fought, and it was Sriracho, Chris, referring to Muhammad Mamoun, and you know what? Jesus might have been right a little bit.
Yeah, this fight was maybe more of an upset from people on the outside, but as we got to kind of see Sriracho and how good he really was and his background, and once we had them in the fighter meetings, you know, they were very, very confident. We had seen his power. When we heard about his loss and how it came off of an injury that was kind of unexpected, so we knew this was a very, very live fight and one that could probably go either way. But Sanchez it's actually turned out to be a pretty good prospect and a guy that we should actually keep an eye on.
And I remember one thing clearly about that fight, Paulie, is we added a member to the broadcast team that night who was simply sensational and just continues to get better.
Yeah, who would have known?
Who would have known? How do you know? and I didn't know that a guy from Long Island and Brooklyn were going to bond so well.
Oh, you know what? There's the New York rivalry, but there's also the New York love.
Yeah, there you go.
Philly's not the only city of brotherly love, you know.
And it is Cesar Francis, the Panamanian from Brooklyn, and it just was a night in which Sriracho came in and took the fight away from him.
Yeah, I don't really consider this an upset. I look at it like sort of this was, as Chris said, a 50-50 fight even going in. You know, this was Sriracho was a natural lightweight who was fighting a little bit heavier than his natural weight, but he had been really, really effective in his career to that point and had looked the goods. You know, you could see he was a calm and collected guy, knows what he's doing, knows how to render himself dangerous. And it was a good fight. It was a good fight with the two guys who were two capable prospects. I think going in, it wouldn't have shocked me whoever would have won this fight. It was that kind of fight, and Sriracho got it.
Yeah, and if there is any reason why there's talk about it being a nominee for the biggest upset, it's what I mentioned earlier is Cesar Francis came in with a ton of momentum. He broke Muhammad Mamoun's jaw in his debut here on ProBox TV, knocked off another opponent, knocked out Armenta, and so that is why it is in this category and one of the nominees for biggest upset. All right, October 7th of last year, Zhu Can, one of China's finest professional fighters ever, against Brandon the Lion Benitez. 18-2, 24 years old. Zhu Can, only the third Chinese world boxing champion, WBA featherweight world champion from 2019 to 2021, 2 title defenses. None of that seemed to matter to the Lion on this night. The Lion was in to take it away from Zhu Can, Paulie.
Yeah, and he came in and fought a great fight. To me, this is an upset. You know, there was a lot riding on Zhu Can here. You know, a whole country behind them, where professional boxing in China has really started to evolve, and really a lot of fans are getting behind it over there. And Zhu Can is one of the better fighters that was coming out of China, and there was really a lot to look forward to with Zhu Can. He lost to Lee Wood, who is still a champion now, and so coming off of that, you say, okay, he lost to a top fighter in Lee Wood, but he showed himself to be very capable, and we showed himself that he can come right back. I hadn't really heard of Benitez, but he fought a very, very good fight, and I was very, very impressed with him. And he was, there was no doubt he'd won the fight when it was over.
All right, so what is, Chris, the biggest upset amongst Jonathan Ennis, Mark Reyes Jr., Cesar Francis, Jesus Sriracho, Zhu Can, Brandon Benitez?
As the recipient of the 2014 Ring Magazine Upset of the Year for myself when I won the world title against Veronikov, this was a tough one for me. I was really, like the champ said about Zhu Can and Benitez, there was a lot behind Zhu Can going into that fight, but Benitez is actually a very capable guy. If you looked at his record, you saw that. So for me, I'm going to go with Ennis and Reyes Jr. because it really was, when you look at that on paper, you're like, oh, this is an easy recovery fight for Reyes, and he gets dropped early and dominated throughout. So that's my upset.
Paulie, Roy said, he's a better fighter than he even knows he is, right? Is that your pick as well?
No. You know what? With Reyes, something comes into play here that I said earlier about prospects. You got to be enthusiastic and passionate about boxing in order to become a better and better prospect. And really, with what I'd see out of Reyes was, a guy who had talent, but he just didn't really want to live that life as a fighter. Maybe he'd just been burned out, maybe from his amateur career and his pro career thus far. He didn't seem like he loved boxing anymore. He seemed like though he had the talent for it, he wasn't ready to just, live that kind of life. And so when the going got tough in a fight where I guess he thought it was going to be easier for him, there was nowhere he was able to find something to bite down on it and get through it. Because for me, he wasn't really passionate about it to begin with, despite the talent. So for me, it is Benitez. Benitez, a very capable fighter, a very good fighter. But again, considering where the reputation of Jucan lied before that fight, and no matter how impressed I ended up being with Benitez, and I still think about that fight and think about how impressive he was, I think when you going into the fight, what you're thinking, I think the Jucan upset is the one for me.
All right, so you guys agree on that. Fans, vote. Don't forget, subscribe to ProBox TV. Here on YouTube, vote for the one-year anniversary nominees on your boxing channel. Our webpage is ProBoxTV.com. All right, next up, it is time for the best round of the year. Our nominees for the best round of the year. We talked about the Last Chance tournament earlier. We talked about how the finals may not have delivered like the semifinals did. Well, let me remind you of this moment in the semifinal round of the Last Chance tournament. Round number 9 in the semifinal matchup between Kendo Tremendo Castaneda and Mr. St. Pete, Joseph Fernandez.
Fernandez, Castaneda. Only one man will advance to the finals in an opportunity to fight for a regional belt.
You've gotten excitement in this fight, action. Oh! 1-2 there by Fernandez, backs up Castaneda.
That hurt him. Yeah.
Oh.
Tremendo is coming up top right there. You finish him. He got to finish him. He got to finish him. The bell says Fernandez. Oh! Wow! What a round.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 intense rounds, we go to the scorecards. And be aware, if this fight is ruled a draw, we will go one extra round.
It's funny when you're sitting out here, Antonio. It ain't funny for them, though.
All three judges, Joanne Richards, Thomas Nardoni, and David DeYoung score the bout 96-94 for your winner by unanimous decision.
And it was Kendo Tremendo Castaneda. Just the look on Joseph Fernandez's face when Mark Lichtenfeld said there might be a sudden victory round. Kind of said it all. That fight was tremendous.
But that was what was so exciting about that tournament. There's so many things you can mention about how exciting it was. And that tiebreaker round is another one in and of itself. The fighters are tired. They're spending like, okay, I got this decision. Nope, you got to fight another round. You got to psychologically get yourself back up and go for it. Man,
and especially
what a round
in that
9.
fight. They beat the hell out of each other the whole fight. It was a great back-and-forth fight.
I'll tell you what was impressive. Going into it, the round previous, in the preliminary round, in the quarterfinal of this tournament, Fernandez hadn't looked that great. He hadn't looked all that impressive. And Castaneda had gotten a one-round knockout against Sonny Fredrickson. So you're looking at this matchup and you're saying, this might be the worst out of the two matchups in the semis. And man, were you ever wrong if you thought that. This fight delivered, that round delivered.
And Fernandez was an alternate who came in, Chris, and did a great job in his victory in the quarterfinals and then that fight that we just showed you, round number 9 of the semifinals. All right, let's go to the 10th and final round between Manny Gallegos and Richard Van Sicklen.
Richard Van Sicklen, he told us he does this for his mom. He got very emotional. His mom, Mary, 62 years old, had a hard life. Homeless shelters, very poor. Richard's brother, Glenn, turns 33 in a couple of days. Richard said he's the youngest of 6. I want to give him an early birthday present.
We're about to take that 2-minute warning right now.
Nice.
No automatic timeout though, Paulie.
No. No, this is boxing. Oh, nice counter there. And here's my worry now. My worry is a lot of judges don't understand this. Yep. And they just go by who's following the rule and who's pressuring. And they judge a fight by watching follow the leader as opposed to watching a fight.
What a fight!
El combate es un empate mayotaria.
All right, so maybe we need 2 more rounds of this one.
Maybe we just need a rematch.
Rematch. Let's go rematch.
That's good. Good fight, though. Good fight.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, so we could run that back.
Yep. And knowing the way we do things here on ProBox TV, there's a really good chance we will.
Yeah. And nobody will be disappointed either. Anybody who's seen this one will be glad to see a rematch.
So, Chris, majority draw in that one. I would say the difference between Castaneda and Fernandez is Gallegos and Van Sicklen probably would have taken that sudden victory round. They were both still bouncing around.
Yeah, and neither one of them would have been happy for it because they wanted the victory. Both guys worked really hard. I'm glad this fight made this countdown because that was my favorite fight that I've called for ProBox yet.
Yeah.
You know, I came to the show kind of late, so I missed a lot of those other shows, but this was my favorite one so far. I mean, those guys, they had no trouble finding each other all night long. I mean, there was a lot of, everybody, they wanted it. They kept going for it, and that's why we had such a great round. That's why we have this here on the list right here. But, man, what a fight.
And when I say college boxing, most of you are going to be like, college boxing? What do you mean college boxing? That's the route that Richard Van Sicklen, football player, D1 football player, University of Washington, that's the route he is taking. And Vibes brings it every single time. So a great round there. Ends up a majority draw. All right. Third nominee for best round of the year. A man that both the Magic Man and the world champion, Chris Algieri, know very well. Luis Collazo against Angel Ruiz.
Round number 2. Collazo 39-8 as a professional tonight. His 49th professional bout. He has only been finished twice in his 8 setbacks, making the move up to super welterweight 154.
Good uppercut there by Collazo as well. Oh, good body shot. You see some little flashes of the championship Collazo. Now the Mexican Ruiz coming out.
It's a round 2.
Oh, good body shot from Ruiz. And a shot upstairs from Collazo.
Ruiz a good chin, though.
We've got ourselves a fight! Officially.
Ruiz would officially finish the former world champion Collazo in the 6th round. Collazo, the former WBA welterweight world champion, the Puerto Rican. Ruiz, a great story from the same Mexican city of the great Julio Cesar Chavez. And Chris, he had told us that he was very friendly with me when I was young. He would talk to me in the gym, but there were times where Senior would kick everybody out because he was in that kind of mood.
Yeah, I mean, we get like that during fight camp when we're cutting weight and avoiding all the niceties of life. But this was a great fight, really good showing by Angel Ruiz, who I've Ruiz, who we've called fights before. It was a shame to see Louis go out that way. As I said, Paulie and I both have ties with him. But it is what it is. This is boxing, and we've got a new contender now.
So the best round of our nominees, Paulie, does it go to Kendo Tremendo and Joseph Fernandez?
You know what? These are tough, man. The fact that this is so difficult to choose from shows you the level of action fights we've brought to you here at ProBox. I'm not giving it to Kendo and Moran. I'm not giving it to them. But again, all 3 of the rounds we showed you are terrific rounds. I'm not giving it to them, though. So, to answer your question.
There you go. No. The answer is no. That was a nice way of Paulie telling me no. Would you give it to Kendo Castaneda and Joseph Fernandez?
I do.
Or do you give that one?
I do give it to them actually, and the reason for that is because there was back and forth multiple times.
Right.
So I believe it was like Kendo started around early. No, he got rocked early. He gets hit with a straight left hand. He gets rocked. Then he comes back to rock Fernandez. Then Fernandez rocks him again, hurts him to the body. Then Kendo comes back at the end. So that back and forth, even though it wasn't as high level as some of the other guys, the back and forth gave me round of the year.
And the last chance format, and it being the last chance tournament, is Roy Jones Jr., who will be joining us soon, would always say, this is the last chance. That was the semifinals. It earned itself another last when we got to the finals. All right, it is blooper time. You don't get to vote, you just get to laugh, and you just get to enjoy. Although I will tell you that right here, back on September 9th of last year, referee Jose Rivera may not have enjoyed catching a punch during the Brandon Glanton-Mario Aguilar fight.
Thanks. Oh, he took that well.
Bam! And if I do recall, and Chris, you may have been watching, there might have been one of my broadcast partners that said that that was the best punch Mario had landed to that point.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It was a decent shot.
It was a decent shot.
Ref took it well, and he's got a chin.
He did indeed. The real KO would come at 109 of the second for Bulletproof Brandon Glanton. Then another blooper that neither fighter enjoyed at all. When you have the decision come in, the referee raises the arm of the victor, Cesar Francis Muhammad Mamoon. Just watch.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's confusing.
Yeah.
That's very confusing.
Michael De Jesus, sorry. But that's the reaction of all three of us.
And it was a close fight.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was,
Right.
Yep. So then you go, wait, okay, did Mark Lichtenfeld read the cards wrong? No,
Right,
Mark,
right.
you were perfect. Yeah, Michael, poor Michael De Jesus.
I feel like my heart would have fallen out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it did fall
there's a lot
on
of
Cesar
complaining.
Francis.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of complaining in that situation.
Yeah.
A lot of reasons to complain there.
Yes, indeed. And if there were complaints, they just escalated from there. And again, you guys need water. You guys need anything. Amber, Sophia, Dalen are here. And how are you guys enjoying the show?
Love it.
Love it? Love it? Yeah? Good? Good. All right. We have the approval of our beautiful ring girls, who you visited earlier with Beatrice, right? Yeah. Let's hear what they all had to say. Here's Beatrice with our 3 finalists for Ring Girl of the Year.
And tonight, we have a very special night. We're celebrating our year in review, first year anniversary. And not only that, we're also having these beauties with us. Our first beauty is
Dalen Minsner.
And there you go. And our second beauty is
Sophia Fowler.
Sophia, ladies and gentlemen. Our third beauty is
Amber Fields.
Amber. And I want to ask these beautiful ladies, what does it feel to work for ProBox TV?
I love my ProBox family. Working with the girls is amazing.
What about you?
The girls and I, we get really into it. We love the energy. We look forward to every fight.
Again, how do you feel working for ProBox TV?
I love working with the fans, and everybody's so amazing.
They're so gorgeous. Anyway, guys, I'm very happy to have you here tonight. We're very lucky to have beautiful girls like you, that you're like in the top of the industry. How does it feel to be the top ring girls of the industry?
I feel so honored.
You feel honored, and what about you?
I feel proud to be a ring girl for ProBox TV.
What about you, my love?
I feel very blessed. It's a very awesome opportunity.
Okay, before we go to the third question, I want to see how you guys walk, because you look amazing on those suits. Let's see how they walk. Let's see. Okay, I need to take some classes with these girls. All right. That's awesome, girls. So last but not least, I want to ask you guys to send a big message to all of our subscribers and followers. What would you say to our followers?
We love you so much and we can't wait to see you at the next fight. We love you guys. Keep supporting.
What would you say to our followers?
Thank you guys so much. We couldn't do it without you.
And that's right. So let's gonna keep celebrating together. First, I want to walk with you guys. Let's get a walk, please. And back. There you go. And we're gonna keep celebrating this first year anniversary of ProBox TV. I'm taking the beauties with me, so see you guys later.
All right, so the walk, they always say you got to walk the walk. Well, all three of you walk the walk. My question would be, does Beatrice have skills? Does she have a future? Could she join you potentially?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
We would love to have it.
Okay, all right, she's still here. She would be happy to hear that. If there's one area you would like to see her improve, what would you say if you were her coach?
I have no tips.
No?
She did flawless.
Yeah.
But, okay, but you'll fight him if she tries to take your job, right? All right, so Paulie, pick one of these three beautiful women.
Love putting me on the spot
go
tonight,
ahead.
man. All right.
I'm glad you're getting it first.
All right. First of all, I think all three ladies are lovely and gorgeous. I'm going to go not with Daylin, not with Sophia. I like Amber.
Wow.
She's right next to me. See?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But all three are gorgeous. Listen, it's hard to pick.
It's hard to pick. Chris.
Man, I'm going with Daylin.
No,
There
of
you
course,
go.
yeah.
We got. You're tall, you're blonde. We're going with that. You gotta. Look.
You guys are smart. You're going with the one
And
she can't hit
and
me
don't
from
get me
here.
wrong,
Correct.
you can't go wrong with any of these three. I'm sure you at home already know this, you know.
Well, Sophia, hey, you know we're going to have it all. And you know what? You know who I vote for? You know the winner? The fans. The fans are the winner when you ring girls are with us. So thank you very much. Thank you. Great
Sophia,
to see
you
you.
rock too.
And look at that. I put the guys on the spot, and they were smart because they've taken a punch before, so they knew they did not want to get punched by one of our beautiful ring card girls. All right, we are now joined by the man, Superman, the Hall of Famer, one of the original founders here at ProBox TV, Roy Jones Jr. It's Goldilocks, and I miss you, my friend.
What up, God? I miss y'all too, my brother. How y'all doing?
Everybody is great. We miss you on a daily basis. It is great to watch you doing everything that you are doing. I've got to ask you, did you have fun getting back in the ring with Showtime Anthony Pettis?
Oh, I had a great time. I mean, it was so enjoyable, and for the most part, I just wanted to go through experiencing the water loading and the salt bath. Those were the two things that were most important to me because I want to know how to advise my guys when they're making weight. So unless you've gone through it, you can't tell somebody how to do it. Anybody who has done it can explain to you how it goes. But if you haven't done it, it's very difficult to understand how it goes.
All right, I want to take us back to day number one when I had the honor of meeting you, Roy, and then had the opportunity for us to drive back and forth to the beautiful Town Place Suites. Your belief in ProBox TV, and like you said with Jonathan Ennis, he's a better fighter than he even knows he is. You've been around this game a long time. You've seen the good, you've seen the bad. You still like the vision that we have here at ProBox TV, don't you?
I still love the vision. I think it's a beautiful vision, awesome vision. It's got to be like a few tweaks got to be made, but it's an awesome vision, and I think it's a beautiful thing for boxing.
It will continue to be. I remember there was the ball on the string that I was trying to mess with the one day, and I wasn't very good, Superman, and then all of a sudden Roy went, pop, 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 right? Roy remembers. I'm like, wow, man, I'm glad I never boxed against Superman, Roy Jones Jr. And of course, Otar Aronosian tried to entertain you as well, right, Roy?
Of course, of course.
Of course, of course. All right, you were here for the contender matchup, so Roy's going to join us as we take a look back at the best contender fight of the year. And the first nominee, one we've talked about already, is Brandon Glanton and David Light, December 2nd of last year.
Number 7, Brandon Glanton. Number 6, David Light. 50-50 fights. Event of the evening, 50-50. Here we go. It's time to fight. Bulletproof in the gray and white trunks. White and navy for New Zealand's David Light.
Starts taking charge in his back on ice uppercuts again by Light. Oh, nice combination by Glanton. That's what I mean about you put your punches together.
Defensive tackle, no
nice
start.
Nice
And
combination by
football just got a body shot that rocked him a little bit. Saw the reaction.
Good combination by Light.
Nice uppercut. Glanton again landing. Oh, big shots by Brandon Glanton. Brandon Glanton trying to take it out of the hands of the judges.
This is the
big
best.
right hand.
This is the best.
Down.
This is the best sustained action of the round, of the fight. It's the best sustained action of the fight for Glanton. And he's been first the entire round.
Yep.
Even when there's a little bit of a break, Light has not tried to be first.
And he's been big here in the 10th as they go the distance. Brandon Glanton, David Light. Bulletproof with the knockdown in the 10th may very well have sealed the deal.
And the new WBO International Junior Heavyweight and Global Junior Heavyweight Champion, out of the blue corner, David the Great White Light.
David Light, winner by split decision.
Hit me.
And he is too exhausted to celebrate.
Too exhausted to celebrate, Roy, but you're shaking your head. It was a heck of a matchup, wasn't it?
Hell of a matchup. Hell of a matchup. I thought the other guy edged it out, but that was a hell of a fight. Those are the type of fights that we intended to give people when ProBox was started.
And we were able to deliver more than once. Roy, as we move forward, we hope to see you more often back here on ProBox TV. We're going to see you, right, Superman?
Very, very, very possible. You know, it's all about what Gary wants to do. Gary want to make this thing go. Gary know how to make this thing go. You understand me? Put Superman on the show would make that thing go. You heard me? I missed the Magic Man. I missed the other Magic Man. I didn't get to work with Algeria, but I miss y'all. Enjoy y'all. I always love working with y'all in the past. And I would love to be back work with y'all again.
And Roy did call me Goldilocks, and you said it was not from the Three Bears, Roy. You said it's because I'm Goldie, and you saw me with dreadlocks, right?
There it is. There it is. Goldie with the lock.
And you talk about we'll wait to see what Gary says. Are you playing the role of Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence right now going, we'll see what the management decides?
Well, I ain't playing the role of Terrence Crawford because Terrence Crawford wanted the management to decide. You feel me? Errol was going to say, we'll see what the management says. So I'm playing the role of Errol Spence. We'll see what the management says, you know?
Superman, it is great to see you, the Hall of Famer. We miss you dearly. Best of love to you and the family. We will talk to you soon.
Miss y'all. Miss y'all. Look forward to seeing y'all soon, all right?
All right, buddy. Take care.
Champ.
Peace.
See you soon, champ.
He truly is one of a kind,
Thank you.
Superman. And I remember when I first started here, and you'd go back, you'd start to watch, you know, you'd watch these different things, and you'd watch Roy, and man, he did some things that were truly incredible, and things that we truly did enjoy as we look at the best contender fight of the year. Now, don't forget, you can vote go to ProBoxTV.com, go to the YouTube channel, and we also have our Ultimate Fan Giveaway. ProBox TV giving you the opportunity for a trip for two to Tampa, Florida, airfare and hotel included. Hang out with the stars here at ProBox TV. Maybe it'll be a night that Superman is in attendance. We know the Hall of Famer Juan Manuel Marquez will be here. Sit ringside, get all access passes, and top it off with $1,000. $500 will come from Chris Algieri's pocket. The other $500 from Paulie Malignaggi. I will take my 20% cut. All right, semifinals of the Last Chance Tournament. Kendo Castaneda, Joseph Fernandez, nominee number 2 for Best Contender Fight.
Joseph Fernandez, scheduled for 10. Here we go. It's time to fight. Castaneda in the white and red trunks. Orthodox stance. Fernandez, the longer fighter. The gray. Big combination late in the round. Halfway through, Antonio, how do you have it scored?
Man, it's a close fight. Both guys are having moments in the fight. Both hands, both hands.
You've gotten excitement in this fight. Action. Oh! 1-2 there by Fernandez. Backs up Castaneda.
That hurt him. Yeah, it did. That hurt him.
Yeah, it did.
Castaneda acknowledged it too.
Good right hand by Castaneda.
He's still dangerous.
And he's fighting Fernandez off there. He backs up Fernandez. Wow!
Both hands.
What a round! Lighting it up.
Oh! He got to get off the ropes. Tremendo is coming up top right there.
Yalla, 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 yalla.
Wow!
I told him.
He smothered himself.
He's standing too tall.
And wow!
This is the one pressing down the stretch. What a fight.
Tremendo Castaneda!
Wow, you know what?
Close fight.
Both of these guys can feel that they was favored to win this fight after that.
This is the kind of fight you want to see a rematch. But right now, Kendo has to move on to the finals.
I was thinking the same thing, Paulie. Run it back.
We would run that back in a heartbeat, and we do thank every one of the 8 competitors for giving us what was a wonderful Last Chance Tournament. Now, some of you fans are engaged, and we love it, so let's check some of the comments. J Bone says, congrats to ProBox TV. They're doing such good work. Eddie Polito, the best boxing is still here, baby. Well, Eddie, we appreciate it. We're going to do our best to continue. I feel honored right now. Roy Jones is the GOAT, and he truly is one of the best ever. And I agree with all those comments. Subscribe, leave us some more. As I mentioned, we had a phrase at one point, by the fighters for the fans. But the reality of it is, Paulie, is everything we do here is for the fan, a fan that in combat sports has oftentimes, maybe too often, been underserved.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's why we call it Your Boxing Channel now. Right. You know, and when you get underserved or bad decisions in the sport or fights that don't happen, you know what? You come here to ProBox and we talk about it, and we try to be your voice at home. We try to have those discussions. So it's not just about the live fights we have here. It's also about the great discussions we have on our podcasts and our talk shows. Really trying to represent the fans and what they want as best as we can, and we hope you guys enjoy it.
And a perfect segue, Magic Man, as always, to reminding you that we once enjoyed when we weren't so underserved. We once enjoyed Friday night fights. While here on ProBox TV, twice a month, Wednesday, take one off. Wednesday, we are back to work. We have Wednesday night fights on ProBox TV. June 14th, we are back here at our world headquarters for another exciting edition of Wednesday night fights. Tune in to our YouTube channel or watch directly on ProBoxTV.com. Subscribe with no ads for just $1.99 a month. All right, here is nominee number 3 for Best Contender Fight of the Year. It was Sonora's Civil War between Luis Torres and Misael Cabrera.
Southpaw against orthodox. Here we go. It's time to fight. Torres in the white and red trunks. He is the southpaw who turned and took up boxing at age 12, turned professional at age 16. Cabrera.
The crowd is chanting. They're into it.
This is what it's about. Wednesday night fights on ProBox TV.
This is not where Cabrera wants to be.
I'll tell you, Torres has been using that lead right uppercut in the midst of the combination this round, and it has been really effective as it has been splitting the guard of Cabrera. Thanks, champ.
They're putting on a great showcase in front of the Hall of Famer Juan Manuel Marquez.
Big left hook.
Hey, Cabrera comes back at the end of the last round, seconds of the rounds. He tends to do pretty well.
What a fight! What a fight! The WBC Latino lightweight champ.
Can't go back with your head straight up in the air. Torres had a good moment, but then going straight back lazily, and now you got him clipped with a couple of good shots from Cabrera.
You were right about the phone booth, Chris.
Yeah, these guys are goes up.
Good shot. Two good shots by Cabrera.
Pulls straight back with his hands down and gets clipped. He lands a great shot, then pulls straight back with his hands down.
And gives it back and then some.
Colonia Cajeme. And still, WBC Latino Lightweight Champion, a un campeón latino peso ligero del CMB. La Colonia Cajeme.
17-0, 21-year-old Torres. Cabrera, 13-1, 23 years old. Pre-fight, Chris, they talked about how it was the fight Sonora had been waiting for a long time. And if that was a true statement, they delivered and then some.
Yeah, I love that fight. I mean, that was one of those, like we always talk about, oh, we got a guaranteed barn burner, and then it almost never lives up to it. That fight actually did. It was two guys who were from the same town. I have friends in that town, and they were siding with both guys, and it really just turned out to be that kind of fight. I mean, Cabrera actually did way better than I expected and made the fight, I mean, it was razor close, and it was very competitive back and forth. Awesome, awesome fight. I've really enjoyed calling that fight and then watching it back after.
Yeah, it was one of the most memorable moments that we have had this year, and one of the top nominees for top contender fight. The fourth and final nominee, Cesar Francis and Mohamed Mamoun.
Here we go. It's time to fight. Made his debut in 2010, his first 14 fights were in his home country of France.
And I also like the fact that here at ProBox, you're giving two guys an opportunity. One guy wants to fight the best fighter he can find. The other guy wants to fight the best fighter, including any champion he can find.
I think Mamoun waits a little bit too long. And he allows Francis to be the first one, and then he takes...
Big shot!
That was it.
Looking to finish it right here, right now!
He wasn't waiting in the neutral corner.
He wasn't in the neutral corner.
You got to be careful, you know, not running down.
Now here's experience. He got to get out of there.
Mohamed Mamoun! That's a slip!
So sometimes a guy like that can beat you to the punch because his punch, his body movement is already in motion. You want to go from stop to go on him.
Oh!
It's on again.
Another counter right.
And a big left hand!
He could end it.
A flurry here!
He got
round 5!
That's right.
Now, Francis still dangerous.
Still dangerous. You got to be...
What a spectacular main event showcase.
No blow again.
Oh, they're close. Good left hand. They go the distance! What a fight!
Great fight.
Yes,
Wow!
And your winner, unanimous decision, Cesar Francis!
No, Francis.
The Rain Man.
Francis?
Mohamed Mamoun, you fought a great fight. Thanks for coming to Florida.
Cesar Francis by unanimous decision.
He gave a wrong score.
But no, the referee raised the wrong guy's hand.
There
we go.
Uh-oh.
Poor Michael De Jesus, so nice we had to show it twice. The most amazing thing about that fight, Paulie, is that Mohamed Mamoun had his jaw broken by a nasty uppercut in round number 1.
Yeah, he really came through with flying colors after getting his jaw broke. Really, I thought he fought a really good fight. The fight could have ended up going either way. You know, he got the knockdown against Francis. And you could see at the end as he's waiting for the decision, the swelling on the side of his face from that broken jaw really, really says a lot about his character to be able to withstand that kind of pain throughout the duration of the fight, and also not only remain competitive, but actually, you know, score a knockdown and hurt Francis on another occasion. Francis also did his share of good work in there. It was a really good fight.
Just a real quick comment on Cesar Francis. Obviously, Chris, someone who you have sparred with, that kind of got Francis over a big hump. A guy like with a big name like Muhammad Mamoun, he got that victory. Now he's been derailed a little bit, but that was a big night for Cesar Francis.
Yeah, we spoke to his team and about that after the fight and how it led on to the Ray Beltran fight, and actually that Mamoun fight really helped them prepare for the Beltran fight so he can go out there and perform the way he did in that fight because he looked fantastic. And then he did hit a speed bump recently, caught a loss, but I believe he will be back because he does have a lot of talent, and these guys are going to go back to work, go back to the drawing board, and come out better.
And he's a pleasure to be around as well. The Rain Man, his whole team, great individuals, and Cesar Francis has one mean uppercut, which brings us to the category that every fan absolutely loves. Best knockouts on your boxing channel, ProBox TV. Number 5, October 7th, 2022, Cesar Francis against Francisco Armenta. 29 seconds of the second. Remember, I said uppercut. Boom! It is all over. Just like that. That uppercut, Chris, is nasty. Number 4, first round of the Last Chance Tournament. Paulie, Kendo, Tremendo, Sonny Fredrickson. I made the mistake of telling our producer, Richie Gunn, I was going to use the restroom. All of a sudden, I heard hollers backstage.
Yeah, and because it was one of those fights where you couldn't use the restroom. You couldn't get a snack. You couldn't go to the fridge. You couldn't get a bag of popcorn because this thing ended quick. One punch KO for Kendo Tremendo.
Kendo Tremendo finished Toledo, Ohio's Sonny Fredrickson with a flush left hook at 2:02 of the first.
Oh, what a shot.
That was nasty.
And so unexpected, because Sonny Fredrickson had actually shown to be very durable in past fights leading up to this. And Kendo's not really known as a puncher. And to have a score one shot highlight reel knockout like that in the first round, very, very unexpected.
That's no like disrespect to either fighter. That's why I thought it was a good opportunity to use the restroom.
You don't hook with a hooker, as they say.
Yep.
This is also another reason why I used to punch myself in the chin before I used to go out to the ring, just to warm my chin up for the contact. I don't know if Sonny did that night.
Yeah, he got
His
caught
chin
cold.
was unexpected.
Ooh. Boom. And it was all over. Kendo Castaneda, Sonny Fredrickson, first round of our Last Chance Tournament. Number 3, from Cancun, Mexico, September 23rd, 2022, Brian Vasquez and Victor Albino. On a night in which we were waiting for something to happen. We were waiting for that explosion. We were waiting to see the crowd be entertained in the ultimate fashion. We only had to wait until round number 4 for that.
Yeah, when you see the guys go face down, that's when you know they're really damaged. Like him, he's trying to get up now just because he's a warrior, but you can see he fell right back over. Those shots, when you see a guy go face down in front, that's bad news.
Take a look at it again, Paulie.
Yeah, I mean, over the top of the jab, of a bit of a lazy jab there. And when you get caught on your way in trying to think about your own offense, it's usually a shot you don't see, a shot you don't expect. You have no chance to brace for it.
Got to bring that jab back to the chin, right? Got to answer the phone, Chris?
Yeah, it was a nice choppy right hand right over the top.
Actually,
Boom.
it was over the top
coming at all.
Actually, it was over the top of a wide hook now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't even a jab.
But just answer the phone when it rings, right?
Yeah.
Answer the phone, and that'll keep you safe. Number 2, April 19th of this year, we saw the great round 2 and the knockdown, but the 6th round, Luis Collazo stopped for only the 3rd time in 49 professional fights. Stopped here by Angel Ruiz.
Yeah, it looked like Ruiz was actually going to get the knockout in the first round. He came out on fire and was able to hurt Collazo early, but Collazo, being the savvy veteran he is, came back in those middle rounds in 2, 3, 4, but finally it was a body shot because he was taking the headshots. He started to get used to the headshots, but you don't get used to those body shots. He got hit with that shot, took the full 10 count, and that was all she wrote.
just shut Louis down, didn't he?
Yeah, man. It gets harder and harder as you get older to take those shots.
So that is also amongst our top 5. That is knockout number 2. And the number 1 knockout of the last year, October 7th, 2022, it was time for Blast with a second-round counter for his 4th straight knockout. The victim this time, Paul Mendez.
Yeah, we spoke about this one several times tonight because of Val Satan, how awesome he looked that night. He really looked like to be top caliber against his toughest opponent up to that date. And, he closed the show the way you're supposed to and scored an incredible stoppage.
The first blast, blasted him. The second blast, finished him, Paulie.
Yeah, that's how it is, man. When your guns are loaded, you can keep shooting.
Bam. And so Blast comes into the second part of 2023 with a ton of momentum. The 2020 Haitian Olympian. I love all the knockouts. I do remember the most, Paulie, that uppercut from Cesar Francis.
Yeah, that's a tough one to pick against. I mean, it was so vicious. It was so, vicious and also just it stood out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those shots where you could see it landing completely clean, timed it very well, and the instant impact. I mean, it was like they pulled the ground out from under the opponent.
You know what I loved? It was technically perfect. It was a jab, uppercut, and he cleaned up with the hook too, which you're supposed to do. That's day one stuff. You finish with you land the right hand, finish with the cleanup left hook, and he did. I mean, he was throwing that punch, even the hook with bad intentions. Thank God he didn't land that because he didn't need it, but. That was an incredible knockout.
A good point, Jim. Very fundamental.
Very fundamental.
Looked
And the same
effortless.
punch that broke the jaw of Muhammad Mahmoud.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you fight the Rain Man, be careful. That right hand, the uppercut, could end your night very quickly. Our night rolls on after we take a quick break.
This is your boxing channel. ProBox TV, the only channel dedicated to boxing. Spotlight interview. We profile some of the biggest names in boxing. Fighters, trainers, promoters, and more. ProBox TV's This Is What Fight Fans Deserve. We are your boxing channel. This is your boxing channel. ProBox TV, the only channel dedicated to boxing. Here we go. Juan Manuel Marquez, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, and Claudia Trejos bring you unfiltered discussion from all the personalities making news in boxing. ProBox TV's This Is What Fight Fans Deserve. We are your boxing channel. This is your boxing channel. ProBox TV, the only channel dedicated to boxing. Twice a month on Wednesdays, it's live boxing. With the champs breaking down the sport like no one else. Here we go. ProBox TV's This Is What Fight Fans Deserve. We are your boxing channel. This is your boxing channel. ProBox TV, the only channel dedicated to boxing. Print and studio news coverage on the top stories in the sport, with the champs breaking down the sport like no one else. Here we go. ProBox TV's This Is What Fight Fans Deserve. We are your boxing channel.
All right, some more of our fans. This one, Valet Tudo. I like that. Apparel.co. I need to buy stocks in ProBox. I see big things. We are open. We are here. GaryJonas.com. There you go. Great fights. Thank you, ProBox TV. And one round with George. No one else in boxing cares to do an anniversary show. There is nothing like ProBox TV. Thank you very much. We're having a blast doing it. Louis Gonzalez, you do deserve the best. So thank you as well for being with us. Thank you for the wishes of happy anniversary. Mike Goldberg, the two-time former world champion. The Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi, former world champion. Chris Algieri, my powerful partners. They are going to debate in just a moment, but we need a topic for them to debate on. And this is a hot topic in which I may just have to get out of the way. In fact, any topic in boxing every single day will be covered by our daily news here on ProBox TV. With that, we check in with George D. Metellus.
Welcome, fight fans, to Top Stories here on ProBox TV. I am George D. Metellus. Let's get right into the controversial result of the lightweight title fight between Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko. Joining us to break down the fight is two-time world champion, Brooklyn's finest, alongside Biggie Smalls, the great Paulie Malignaggi. All right, Paulie, was Lomachenko robbed in this fight?
You know what? I believe he was. You know, in a fight where both guys impressed me in different spots, I believe the wrong guy got the decision. You know, it's interesting because I had rated Haney's level of opposition up to this point in his career, so it was hard to really get a gauge on him. But this was a fight where I was able to be more impressed with him than any of his wins, and yet still feel that he hadn't done enough hadn't done enough to get that decision against Vasily Lomachenko. He didn't do well in spots coming forward. I felt like he was. You know, it was a method that he used that I didn't expect he was going to try to come forward. And in spots, he was able to come forward. And the way Lomachenko was, you know, just conducting himself in general, mixing shots to the body and to the head, throwing in combination, landing some of those combinations, obviously. I felt that overall, the momentum of the fight started switching and moving in the direction of Lomachenko. I remember having somebody send me the live betting, and Lomachenko started as a plus 200 underdog at the beginning of round one, minus 500 favorite going into round 12. So that's how much the odds were shifting. And that goes to show you the momentum of what the public is feeling, because those odds don't shift on their own. Those odds are shifted by the public and the way they're betting, because the way the momentum of the actual fight is going. If you think about it, like the Celtics against the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are an 8 seed, and so you think at the beginning of the game of these games against the Celtics, they're plus money. He goes, but by the time 30 points in the fourth quarter, the Miami Heat are going to be minus money because they're way ahead in the fight and in the game, and they are in live time. They look like they're going to win the game. So all the money's going to be coming in on the Heat in the third quarter when they're up by 40 points. You know they're going to win. In boxing, you can be a minus 500 favorite, but then at the end you can still be robbed, and that's sort of what we saw with Lomachenko and Haney. I felt like Lomachenko did the better work. Felt like Haney fought well, but I felt like Lomachenko deserved the majority of the public feel that way.
All right, Paulie, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, and looking forward to your insights here on ProBox TV News with Top Stories. All right, remember to subscribe to us on all our social media platforms at ProBox TV.
Your boxing channel every day in English and Spanish. We will have daily news. George D. Metellus has some pipes. Chris, I'm very proud of my voice, but I feel like it's very timid right now after listening to George.
George commands the room.
George,
yeah.
Wow. All right, time for you guys to command. We are going to go mano a mano. I feel like I could do my big John McCarthy. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on. Let's talk about what you guys just discussed. Paulie talked about it a little bit. You were there at the MGM Grand Garden Arena on May 20th. Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko. Did the decision go the wrong way, Chris?
Well, I'm not even going to talk about whether it went the wrong way or the right way. I'm going to talk about the idea of this robbery. Because, listen, not every close fight's a robbery. I mean, this was a very close fight. Honestly, I scored it that night. I was calling the fight. I was in the room. I had it a draw. I went back and scored it again. I leaned more towards Haney on the second half. But you can never really score a fight after you've already seen it. The bias is already there. But regardless, if you would have told me that you had Loma up, okay. If you had told me you had Haney up, close, okay. If you told me it was a draw, okay. So to me, that just wipes out the idea of having a robbery. Can we just focus on how great the fight was? It was a really, really good fight. Like the champ, Paulie said, leading up to that, he was very impressed with Haney. So was I. I had never seen him do the things that he was doing that night. He actually fought like a power puncher, a counter puncher. The punches he was throwing in the ring, again, I'm in there, I could see it, were dangerous. The punches that Lomachenko was throwing and landing, it was almost amateurish. There wasn't much power to the punches. And even that being said, I had it right down the middle. I mean, the rounds that Lomachenko actually separated himself, it was clearer, but that's not how rounds are scored. If one guy had a really big round and one guy had a very slight round, you know, that's how you score it. It goes 1 for 1 there. It doesn't matter that one guy won 1 round bigger than the other. But then also, when Paulie said about the betting, that's people watching at home. There's no feelings or emotions when it comes to scoring. So you might have felt
but the betting tells a lot. The betting tells a lot, though, because it's live.
You say all the time.
The momentum goes in a. I mean, that's a lot of betting. To go from a plus 200 favorite underdog to a minus 500 underdog, that is a big swing. That means the entire watching population.
Because of the feelings.
That means some of the betting should go back to Haney.
I had the feelings too. So I'm watching the fight.
Money.
It's more than feelings.
It's more than feelings. It's money, because nobody's betting to lose. Everybody's feeling Lomachenko's winning the fight until you're putting your money. I knew people who started betting Lomachenko when he was minus money already, at minus 240, minus 250, minus 260.
Well, those momentum
is going in a certain way. You're not betting to lose your money. If it was about just feelings, somebody would come in for Haney. All the money.
I said the same thing. Like the last third of the fight, I'm like, man, Loma's got this. And then I look at my score and I'm like, oh man, I got it a draw.
Yeah, but you're also giving Haney credit for coming forward. Like, he came forward and it was surprising. Those body shots are landed on the elbow.
No,
we know
there
they
was
have
blotches all over his ribs.
We know they affect.
I saw it.
Yeah, but also Lomachenko's varying his shots up and down. Also, who got hurt more? In the 11th round was the round where somebody showed
Lomachenko got hurt 3 times. I'll show you them on replay.
I don't know,
he just hides it really well.
Lost his legs.
Hides it really well.
Haney lost his legs. And also, all the foreign language. If there's only one foreign language boxing product that says Haney won the fight. Only some American fans think Haney won the fight. Literally, I speak 3 languages. I speak 3 languages. You cannot find me a foreign language boxing page that had Haney winning the fight.
Feelings and emotions.
Boxing is a worldwide sport.
Feelings
no one except a few Americans thought Haney won the fight.
Wow, you New Yorkers do get along just beautifully, don't you? This is like, I answered both phones there, Chris, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty good head movement. You got
like a bobblehead in the middle of this. So let's go ahead and talk about Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Finally, I remember when we talked about it on the podcast, Roy Jones, I asked him his opinion. He said, you tell me when it's going to happen, and then we can talk about it, because it has taken a long time for it to happen. With that, Paulie, time for you and Chris to break down what we are going to see. One of the most highly anticipated fights in boxing history is finally going to be upon us on July 29th. Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, 4-belt unification matchup at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Does it still have the same luster after the long wait?
I mean, listen, it would have had more luster a couple of years ago, sure, but I still think people are... When you've been waiting for a fight for so long, people just get excited when it finally happens either way. And I think ultimately this is a fight where people are going to be excited. Yeah, they're going to complain it should have happened a couple of years ago, but you're all going to watch. Every single one of you are going to watch because it's a fight you've been waiting for. And honestly, my breakdown is this. I feel like Terrence Crawford is the best fighter in boxing. He's just a very complete, fluid style out of both stances, transitions offense and defense very well out of both stances, and defense to offense out of both stances. I mean, just a fluid fighter, a very complete fighter. For me, he's number 1 on my pound-for-pound list, regardless of the things that Usyk has done lately. I know Usyk is mostly on most people's number 1 pound-for-pound. But the natural welterweight is Errol Spence, and I do believe weight classes exist for a reason. And despite having Crawford as a more complete fighter, I do believe the engine of Spence, the body punching of Spence, the physicality of the naturally bigger man will eventually wear down the creativity of Crawford. Something to look forward to, though. Something to look for in the fight. Crawford fights out of both stances. If he can slow down and make Spence overthink a little bit, when you start to overthink, what do? Maybe you slow down on your pressure a little bit because you're trying to figure out your ways in. If Crawford can slow down Spence a little bit on Spence's way in by switching stances and being effective in there, it could leave Crawford with enough of a gas tank later in the fight to win the fight. But I got Spence. I don't see that happening.
Okay, I'm going to do the ding, ding, ding. Chris Algieri.
I'm taking the stance of Roy Jones Jr. I'm still not even sure this fight's going to happen.
Because man, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Not again.
Like I'm sitting here like I'm like, is it really gonna happen? I've said I'm the forever optimist. Guess what? I'm a pessimist now.
This fight will make anybody a
This one has
pessimist.
made me a pessimist. This fight broke my heart last year when it didn't happen. So like I think I'm still reeling from that emotionally, with this fight. But I mean, when it comes to the matchup, I'm so torn on this fight because if this had happened prior to the car accidents, prior to the eye injury for Spence, I was Spence all day. Now, and also because, as you said, champ, he's the natural welterweight. Crawford was coming up into the weight class. This is his second weight class. This is Spence's first. Actually, his third weight class. Excuse me. But Crawford's now grown into the welterweight class. He's a real welterweight now. He's knocking everybody out, too. He's knocked out everybody at welterweight. Yeah. So he's a true welterweight now. Again, if this had happened 2 years ago, I was all Spence. Now, I don't know. I'm really torn in terms of the health of Spence and also the ability of Terrence Crawford at this time.
So you don't think Spence being younger helps him out that it's 2 years late?
No, because of the injuries, because of the car accident. Retinas are a big problem. Yeah. Having a torn retina is a career-ending injury 10 years ago. Yeah. Now, modern science, you never know, but I don't know, man. I got a lot of questions about those 2 car accidents, not 1. And the eye.
Not the best driver.
I have an idea. I know they have to train. I know they need to prepare, but invest in bubble wrap and put both of these men in bubble wrap.
Until the fight.
That way, nothing happens. We don't get Cain Velasquez tripping on the mat in his own gym and never being the same man. Bubble wrap.
But the problem is they train like animals.
Yeah. I know, but train him in the bubble wrap.
Spence notoriously he spars like 22 rounds at a session. It's insane.
Okay, so we want the fight to happen. We all want the fight to happen, but we do know that these two can handle a debate. They love each other. They're best friends. They tend to disagree. So let's go all the way back to when we first started our talk shows in those cool lounge chairs. It was like we were in Ybor City, just chilling out with Superman, Roy Jones Jr. When they do say that you created the style of boxing for your country, though, Mexican style of boxing, Julio Cesar Chavez, that's a nice little tag to have.
Yeah, it's a very good tag to have, but his record alone itself says more than anything because he got so many fights. First time I seen him, I think he was like 80-0. I'm like, wow, I ain't seen this in a long time.
Yeah.
Pro boxer, 80-0, that's amazing for anybody. I mean, how could you get to be 80-0? Can you find anybody? You can't find guys that can beat 30 bombs nowadays. And he 80-0?
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
That's deep. You had to find somebody that could fight unless you fought the same man every time. And he didn't fight the same man every time. Somebody on that list had to be the fight.
You ain't gonna be that lucky that long.
Somebody had to be the fight. So that's saying a lot. So Salvador Sanchez was my favorite because I was a kid watching him.
Yes.
You understand me? So it's like you said with the Puerto Rican list, the Spanish list, the Mexican list, can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you the 5 that I can think of off top. But I promise you, there are guys like Yaki Lopez that I thought the world of back in my day. You feel me? Come from guys that we forget about. I mean, Carlos Palomino, I thought the world of back in my day. You feel me? Lupe Pintor, I thought the world of back in my day. So it's a lot of guys that we forget about. So for my top 5 that I can remember that I've seen, probably most would be Salvador Sanchez, Julio Cesar Chavez, Canelo Alvarez, Marco Antonio Barrera, and I probably, for that 5th spot, there's a lot of people that could go there, but because I work with them all the time, I got to put more kids there. You feel me?
And you know me, Roy. I'm Mr. Happy, eternal optimist. So let's play everything signed, set to go in October. Now break down the fight for us.
Well, we seen a guy once, a heavyweight, sign, do all that, go touch gloves, walk back and get out the ring, so it ain't happening.
We still can't.
I remember that. So I still ain't gonna believe it, like I said. Exactly. I ain't gonna believe it until I see the first punch ducked.
Got you.
Or blocked.
Yes.
Then I'll believe the fight gonna happen.
Okay. You're dealing with a situation where I think that's where the pressure comes in. I don't think it's more so. I don't think it's about him fighting in front of his hometown fans. I think Canelo can fight in front of everybody. He's a professional. He's a world-class fighter, and he's fought in front of tons and tons of people for a long time. I think the pressure is more so in looking like the star. He wants to come back and be the star, have the ego, shut everybody up, and tell people and show people like, hey, I am still the guy. You know, I remember Bernard Hopkins doing that when he beat Kelly Pavlik. He got out of the ring and he stared out at press row at all the guys that doubted him. So I think Canelo more so the pressure comes from wanting to do that, to wanting to put on, which means you can't just beat a John Ryder. you've got to really put on a stinging
show.
performance. It's the worst stoppage I've ever seen in my life. I've been watching boxing since the 80s. This is the worst stoppage I've ever seen in my life. You heard Rolly trying to say, oh yeah, but he was hurt. No, Barroso wasn't hurt. Barroso took the fight on last minute notice, so he was getting fatigued. The fact that his legs weren't as much under him as they were earlier in the fight wasn't because he was hurt. He was fatigued. And yet he was still punching back. Again, never hurt. So what are you stopping? What are you stopping? Is that like there's no way they can be that much incompetence. This has got to be something worse. Because are you panicking that maybe Rolly's not going to get the win and you need to make sure he gets the win? What are we doing? Every time judges and referees do this, it's never in favor of the B side. It's always for the A side, which eliminates the incompetence part. Now you got to start thinking about a more sinister idea. Is it corruption? Is there somebody on the take? Is it something? Because, dude, if this was just simple errors, you'd see it on the part where it benefits the B side at times. And instead, you never see it. You never see that. Ryan Garcia and Gervonta sold 1.2 million pay-per-views. This has excelled Gervonta to that point. Here was already the goods boxing-wise and power-wise. Now he's also created that buzz in a different sort of way.
I was in Vegas that week. It had the feel of a Mayweather fight week. I will attest to that. I agree with you. I mean, there was different levels to that. That's another good point.
And guys, on that note, I'm going to ring the bell.
Face of boxing. Thank you.
No. Not yet.
Claudia, I thought you were awesome during that. Claudia Trejos is going to be with Juan Manuel Marquez and Ricardo Salas. They're coming up with our Spanish edition, but more comments coming in. Yes, I do think that great fights are a thank you very much. And hey, Vale Tudo still, Chris, and we know what that, it is Vale to do, but I know what that guy's doing there. He really wants to buy stock. I mean, he sent the message twice. ProBox is always lit. Thanks for the dedication. I love when Paulie becomes crazy. So you love Paulie on a daily basis. And I will say that the only criticism I can say about my good friend, my powerful partner, the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris, is that you just need some enthusiasm. You need some passion. You need some energy.
I'm working on it.
You may need a few less espressos, right?
A few less or a few more? I mean, I want to see his head actually explode at some point.
I think we almost did a moment ago. All right, so I'm with the Magic Man, with Chris Algieri, my two good friends. We are having a blast doing this anniversary show for you. We have taken a trip back to some of the greatest moments on ProBox TV. So now it's time to tell you what is coming your way down the road.
ProBox TV is your boxing channel. Our talk shows cover everything in the world of boxing. Big fight guide and big fight preview, sparring session, best bets, deep waters, in the works, who's the man, spotlight interview, outside the ropes, that and so much more on ProBox TV, your boxing channel.
All right, we are getting close to wrapping up our first anniversary show, but there were some low blows. We know that everybody is a keyboard warrior in this day and age, and we absolutely love your passion and your kindness on social media. And yes, that was pure sarcasm. So, some low blows. The first low blow was thrown at the Magic Man, who does have very thick skin. Paulie is the type of friend where you go, bro, why are you yelling? I'm just right in front of you.
It was funny. I'm Italian, man. That's how it works. Anytime my uncles used to bring girlfriends home when I was a kid, I remember the girlfriends asking my uncles, why is your father yelling? It was my grandfather, and they were like, nah, he's just talking. He's not yelling. I lived in that house. I'm just talking.
Hey, you didn't get served if you didn't speak up, right? All right, the next one. I wonder what song Chris puts on his AirPods when Paulie starts yelling. Chris, that's a good one.
These comments are great because they're really paying attention because it's true. I'm sitting there. I'm going to use that line from now on. Hey, Paulie, what are you yelling at, bro? Because I stay calm during all these discussions. But yeah, that might actually help so I don't blow out one of my eardrums when he starts yelling.
When you guys are arguing, I play Black Eyed Peas. I got a feeling, or Pump it. Louder. All right. Did the producers tell Paulie to yell all of his answers every episode? He has 2 modes, crazy stare and fire hose. I will tell you, there is not a producer in the world who would legitimately take credit. If they were, they'd be lying. There you go.
Right here, right? Oh, no, I don't want to give the commercialized. And it's spilling. Always, before all my shows, always. And coffee on the go. Black coffee. No sugar, no cream. Straight caffeine.
No sugar, no cream in your coffee.
Like Kevin D used to say.
Even rolling on your hand, Paulie, it energizes you. It's like one of those Marvel movies. All right, next one is, it doesn't matter if he's right or wrong. Paulie is right, and he's going to let you know about it at max volume. Sammy, I appreciate it.
I'm going to respond to this one.
Hello, Captain Obvious, right?
Paulie's from Brooklyn. His way of arguing is just get louder. If I'm louder than you, I won.
And I talk with my hands, too. So between my voice and my hands, I got to get the upper hand somehow.
But I've got to add this, though. The one time Paulie does not use his hands is when there's a fight, because there tends to get blood even when he's in black. So it's like he's at an Italian dinner. He's got something in front of him. All right, there's something in it, right?
Oh, look at this.
You're all dressed up.
Look at this. Look at this comment.
Something in Paulie's eyes that makes me want to investigate him for unsolved murders.
That's a low blow. That's a low blow, man.
Yeah.
Look at him. You look like such a nice guy. I mean, you got a bow tie on. Who?
Would somebody with a bow tie hurt anybody? Come on.
Yeah, come on. See how
And again, Pee Wee Herman did.
Oh. Ouch. Paulie, that was good. Good, not good. All right. Chris, you got a booty chin, though. What's a booty chin? Is that like Uriah Faber? Is that no, that's the
butt chin.
Butt chin, right. Booty chin, is that what it is?
I got it from my dad. I mean, all this talk about yelling in Italians. My father's Italian, my mother's Argentinian. My mother spoke with her hands. She used to punch my dad, and I beat him. I've seen my mother beat my dad up so many times in my life. My father would always come back with words. My mother would come back with fists and shoes and spoons. But yeah, no, the butt chin's from my dad.
Well, my father's Jewish, my mother Irish Catholic. My brother and I are confused, plain and simple. All right, Chris Algieri is one of those New Yorkers that has to convince people he's from New York because he looks like he's from Iowa, or as my wife would say, Iowa. She's Brazilian, but I don't disagree with that, Chris. You could very well be from Des Moines.
I don't have to convince anyone because I keep Paulie around. Paulie Italian. He reminds everybody I'm from New York, too. He's like, we're New York brothers. Like, okay, good.
Well, you know,
I don't have to say it.
Chris is refined. You know what I'm saying? I started in Brooklyn, and now I've kind of gravitated over to Long Island and Florida. Chris started in Long Island, so he started more refined already. That's what it is.
I went right to Florida.
So nice. Yeah, listen to Ray Longo and Matt Serra for a second, and
you'll
know Chris has that different approach. 3 weeks ago, one day Chris is going to mess up and show up in his blue suit and red cape by mistake, and we will know the truth.
See, they're referring to Superman because I look like Clark Kent with the hair, right? We hear a lot of that actually on the...
with the booty chin. Clark Kent with the booty chin.
Our digital guys are always like, everyone keeps calling you Clark Kent. I'm like, so that's probably in relation to that.
Well, on Fight Night.
Yeah, I mean...
It's no Clark Kent there.
No.
Yeah, well, hey, if you're Clark Kent, Roy Jones Jr. Superman, right? Say what you will about Algieri, but no one can take a beating. Like... Is that a compliment, Chris?
That's the most backhanded compliment you can get. I'm like, it's part of good, part bad, but all right, whatever.
Yeah, and he's great. His defense is great. He blocks every punch with his face. I mean, is that kind of what they're saying?
Yeah, he's got big cojones, but you know, they get stepped on a lot.
When you quit, you don't win world titles, though.
Yeah, well.
Thank you, the fans, for those low blows. And Paulie, you're right. That one was truly a low blow. But we want to get back to you, ProBox TV, giving you the ultimate fan experience. Enter right now at ProBoxTV.com. Winner gets a awesome getaway for 2 to Tampa, airfare, hotel included. Hang out with the stars here at ProBox TV. See what happens behind the scene. Sit ringside. All access passes to a live ProBox TV fight night. $1,000 in cold hard cash. And all you have to do is go to ProBox TV, submit your votes, and you are automatically enrolled. And it is 2 Wednesdays from tonight when we continue with our series of Wednesday night fights live on ProBox TV. Our main event, Saul Sanchez and Kevin Franklin. This has been an absolute blast for my powerful partners, the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie, thank you very much.
My man.
And Chris Algieri, the former world champion. ProBox TV, 1 year anniversary. 1 year is in the books. The best is yet to come. So here we go. It's time to fight, and stick around. Spanish is coming up next.